Hello, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk Grief. This is a pop-up segment on this evening. If you caught me in October, I did a whole series on Let's Talk Grief, and I felt led to do a segment on tonight dealing with the empty chair. But before I get into that, I want to start off by saying happy holidays to everyone. Thank you again for tuning in. I had a few hiccups earlier because I do believe in starting on time. I said I'm gonna start at 7. I like to start at that time. But I'm a one-woman show, so I'm doing this by myself, and I'm running 4 different platforms at the same time. So I ask that you please be patient with me as I work through this. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with me. I appreciate it. So like I said, on October, I did a segment on Let's Talk Grief. And some of the things that I talked about were the definition of grief, the myth versus facts of grief, the stages of grief, how to seek support for grief, and of course, self-care while you're going through the process of grief. And you can find those videos on my Evolve to Elevate page, as well as my YouTube channel at Tamika L. Fusser. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do that. And tell your friends to subscribe also. Okay, so you see me like moving left or right, you see me moving down, it's because, like I said, I'm working like 4 different platforms at the same time. So thank you again for your patience and understanding. But even before I dive into the topic for tonight of the empty chair, I want to discuss that tree that's behind me. Okay, it has a lot of significance to it. And I say that because for those of you who tuned in to my segments on back in October for Let's Talk Grief, I shared with you the loss of my father. It's been 30 years since he died, but yet it still plays a big role in my life. So for some reason this year, I felt like a yearn or urge to get a Christmas tree. I've been in my house for 10 years. I've never had a tree ever. Um, but for some reason, I felt an urge to have one. Thank you for those who's tuning in. Please go ahead, like, share, hit the hearts, hit the like button. Let's get this. A lot of people need what I have to say on tonight. And so I never had like a yearn or urge to get a tree, but for some reason I had one this particular year, urge or yearn to get a tree. Although I had it, I still didn't have the desire to actually go out and purchase one. And people were asking me like out of the blue, "Are you getting a tree this year?" Like even one of my coworkers, I'm like, "Well, why are they asking me about this tree?" I'm like, okay, whatever. And so I had a friend reach out to me and say, "Hey, are you getting a tree?" And I'm like, "No, but it's funny you asked because I've actually been thinking about getting one." And then they were like, "Cool, I'm gonna get you a tree." And I'm like, "Okay, but baby steps." I'm thinking like a little tree you could put on the table, you know what I'm saying? Something I could just put in the box and then put in the garage. They like, "No, you're gonna get a real tree." I'm like, "Ooh, baby steps, baby steps." So I'm like, get a fake tree, you know, let me, warm myself up to it. And sure enough, they got me the tree that you see behind me. I got it, and it came with lights already. And so lit it up, and I felt some type of way. Didn't understand why, but I did. And then I got the question of, how is it Christmas? How, you and your family, y'all be on Christmas, trees and stuff like that. And I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, no, I'm like, Christmas died when my daddy died. And that's exactly what came out my mouth. Christmas died when my daddy died. And I became emotional. This happened last week, people. My daddy been dead 30 years. Okay. This happened last week. And I just had to turn off the lights. I turned off the lights and like I went in my bedroom, like closed the door. I didn't want to deal with looking at the tree anymore. And so then I was forced to go out the next day to buy decorations for the tree. And originally I was gonna get like, red, gold, the traditional colors, because my house is just, you can see in the background are basically those colors. Yeah. So I'm like, blend it in. They're like, no, go with something different. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I end up with pink and gold. And once I start getting into the actual, like, picking out different decorations for the tree, I started feeling a little different. That felt a little pep in my step. I kind of getting excited about getting the ornaments and decorations for the tree. And now I feel better about it. But then I didn't realize the correlation that the tree had, you know, that it played a part, the essence of my father, with having a tree, without having a tree, it played a role of my father, and now having a tree, it still plays a role of my father. And I hope y'all caught that. I hope I said it right where y'all could understand it, because me not having a tree represented my father. Me having a tree still represents my father. My father was that type of person, like, he was a real family man. Cookouts, holidays, events always took place in my house. My house was the house. Everyone came over. My dad loved the barbecue. He loved family. And technically, when he died, that kind of like died along. We did not carry on those traditions. And so it wasn't a big deal for me per se when it comes to like holidays and stuff. And so when it came to like getting a treat, I'm like, okay, but now I'm excited about tree, but it's no gifts going on the tree. So anyone who's putting the gift, not this year, boo. Sorry. Out of gas. Digress. But yeah, so I just wanted to share that little story. And plus, if you got any comments, any questions, please put them in the box. I will try to answer them as best way I can. It might be at the end of the statement, because like I said, I am a one-woman show. And for those of you who are just coming in, please share, hit the likes, hit the hearts. Let's get this going. And so I felt led, because I said I was just going to do the series in October, but I felt led because there's been so much loss this year. It seems, we have lost every year, but it seemed like it just been like an overload of loss this year in 2020, from so many different angles. And I wanted to talk about the empty chair, because many people are experiencing the empty chair. And in therapy, they teach us a technique called the empty chair. And with the empty chair technique, you basically talk to an empty chair, and is dedicated to that person, whoever that person is, whether they're here or not here. So it could be a person that has passed away, and there's maybe some things that have been left unsaid that you want to get out, and this is your way of healing. And then you imagine it being that person, and you letting out your feelings to this person. Or it could be someone who is still around, and they may be emotionally unavailable, and you need to get those feelings out because you want to heal. It's a process that you want to go through in order to get your healing. And so you use this technique to express yourself, to let go of these suppressed feelings. That's the empty chair technique that we practice in a therapeutic session. But that's not what I want to discuss tonight. Tonight, I want to discuss, what does the empty chair mean for many of us? And I believe, like for me, back in October, the Lord was preparing me for what was to come, because even before October, I lost my grandmother. And then after October, after I did the segment, I lost two more people. And it was preparing me basically for what was to come. And then for me to also help those who were going through or are going through loss. And people, we have to be very careful of what we say. And I understand, we feel like we have to give words of comfort, but your presence, your human presence, means way more than what you can say out of your mouth. Like, I had this one lady that I had to counsel a couple of weeks ago who lost her son. And it was her son and his friend. They got into this accident, and her son didn't make it, but his friend did. And one lady said in front of in front of her, you know, that the son's friend, that the Lord still had work for him, that, you know, that the Lord kept him around for a reason. So are you saying because the Lord kept the friend, that this child's son, you know, didn't have a reason, that this child's son life was not meaningful? Like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? Like, we have to be mindful. We have to be careful of what we say and how we say it. And all these church cliches, we need to put them to bed. Let them go. Throw them away. Please, 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 just throw them away. Throw them away. Okay? I digress because they drive me crazy. But get into the empty chair. So I discussed with you, you know, the technique that we use in a therapeutic session when it comes to the empty chair. But I want to discuss what it means at this time of the empty chair. So for many of us, holidays are going to look different. Thanksgiving probably look different for you. Christmas is going to look different for you. Birthdays going to look different for you. Just overall, things are going to be different. That person, that loved one, is no longer there. Their presence is no longer there. You're not able to see them. You're not able to hold them. You're not able to have a physical conversation with them. And so how do you deal with that? How do you process that this person is no longer here, that this chair that they once sat in is no longer filled by them? How do you continue to go on? How do you process that? How do you move beyond that? And so that's what I want to discuss on tonight. And there is no one answer for it. There is no wrong or right answer. It's basically what works for you, because for each individual is different. Each individual process grief differently. Each individual, you know, handles grief differently. So it's basically, you have to find what works for you, but you have to be willing to find what works for you. And you have to understand that it is a process. There is stages to grief, and you may not go through all the stages. Um, and there's no time limit on how to process grief. I think I need to repeat that. There is no time limit on how to process grief. Okay. But we must, you know, deal with it, because if we don't, it can literally kill us. And so we have to, you know, find a way to deal with it in a healthy manner. And so what do we do when our family dynamics change and what was once occupied is now empty? What do you do knowing that that person won't any longer be there for those special moments and holidays? What do you do knowing that you can no longer call that person? What do you do? What do you do? And I know for the African American culture, because that's the only way that's all I know really. For many of us, we don't deal with that type of stuff. We like to sweep things under the rug. You know, we sometimes, you know, will suppress stuff, move on, like things are all good, or we deal with things in a very unhealthy way, or we don't even, you know, honor traditions or create traditions. You know, we don't find that stuff to be hip or cool, because it's not technically our fault, because we wasn't taught that. You know, that's not how many of us were raised, you know, creating memories or creating traditions. And so we just go with the flow. You understand? And that's not always healthy. Like, if we really want that person's life to live on, if we really want to honor that person, it's nothing wrong with creating traditions. And that is something that we're taught. In like my therapeutic classes, sessions, whatever, we're taught that during this grief process, that it is healthy for the families to, in order to honor that person, to create something memorable, like a tradition, create a new tradition, to honor that person, whether it's a gathering more and, talking about that person, or again, having a gathering and you all talking about something that represent that person, coming up with one thing that you love about that person, or even writing a letter to that person. I know that may sound crazy, but it's therapeutic and it health is healthy. It's very healthy to write a letter to that person, or even come up with something like a candlelight tradition where you light a candle whenever you all have a family gathering. You have to find what works for you. There's many things out there, but like I said, there is no one answer. It's kind of like trial and error in a sense, but you have to find what works for you during this journey, because now um, there's a part of your journey that you may feel that is missing because that loved one is no longer there. And so you have to find ways to cope, because we don't technically get over the loss of our loved one. We learn to cope day by day. And like I said, it is a process. It's not something that happens overnight. And we ourselves need to understand that. So please don't add extra pressure on yourself, and don't allow others to add pressure onto you as well for you to get over the grief, because it's no such thing. I mean, it's a daily process that we learn how to cope. Okay. So again, for those who just coming in, I ask that you please share, hit the like buttons, hit the heart buttons. I thank you for those who are tuning in. I can't really see all of you who are tuning in, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I am a one-woman show working 4 different platforms. So God bless you. Thank you so very much. Um, so again, the empty chair. What does the empty chair mean to you? So like for me, I mentioned earlier, for those of you who came in earlier, like that tree, that's basically represent my empty chair, because it's my father. I did not have a tree because of my father. We don't have family dinners. We used to have family dinners every Sunday faithfully, no TV, at the table. We had discussions about our week. We had to read Bible scriptures, me and my brother. We had to say the blessings, me and my brother. Like, that was our Sunday. But then my father died. That stopped. We didn't do anything as if, and my mom was a young mom too. So she didn't know. God bless us. She didn't know. But there was nothing to represent my father, because that chair was now empty. That chair that was once there, that person that was once there in that chair is no longer there. And we didn't do anything to represent him. And so I never, really had that time to process, the meaning of the empty chair. I never had the time to process of what it means to not have my father no longer to sit in that chair. And because I didn't process it, because I didn't deal with it, it caused other issues. And I'm not going to get into those issues. That's for another statement for another night. Because, woohoo, God bless me. Yes, Lord. But seriously, people, the empty chair, for many people, especially around the holiday season, it becomes hard to deal with. It becomes, a time of sadness when it should be a time of cheer. It becomes, a time of heartache when it should be, a time of celebration. And so we have to take that into consideration. What can we do, even as someone who's being there for someone who is dealing with a loss? What can you do as that person who's standing in the gap? Be a listening ear. That's number one. Don't try to push your beliefs onto someone else. Okay. And please, I know I said this earlier, stay away from the church cliches. Pretty please, for sugar on top. Yes, we know the Lord makes the way. We know Lord doesn't make any mistakes. We know all of that. But many of us do not want to hear that when we're going through. And I'm just keeping it real. Please. Listening to the person, being a listening ear, being present, is so important. You know, it's one thing like when the person actually passed away, you know, we had the wake, we had the repast, the funeral, all that stuff. And you know, yeah, you know, people say, you know, call me if you need anything, I'll be there for you. But as soon as you close the casket, eat all the chicken, you don't hear from that person anymore. Where's that person who said, call me, or, you know, I'll be there for you? I need you to pick up the phone and call me. I need you to send me a text. I need you to stop by and ask me, you know, if I need anything. Because I'm just in a place now where I just don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't even know how to ask for help. I need you to call me. Presence. It means a lot. So being that listening ear for that person. Okay. Um, Providing, and this is something, like I said, is not norm for many people of the African American culture. Provide a special holiday chair. Ask the grieving family if you could create a special memorial ribbon for the empty chair to honor the loved one's memory. Throw a card shower. Now I know y'all probably listening in like, what are you talking about? But bear with me. Ask the friends, ask extended family to write special memories of the person who was gone, you know, affirming just how special that person was while on earth. You know, they say we're supposed to give people their flowers while they're here, which is true. But to help you process, or, you know, to go through the journey, these are still healthy ways to deal with it. And then you can gather the cards and give them to the family, and you all can even, you know, create an altar in a sense, you know, something where it's just for that person that represents that person. Um, and you know, being that friend, you could offer to run errands, you could offer, you know, cook meals, you could offer to do, you know, a little shopping for them, you know, just help them around, you know, the holiday season time, especially, you know, it's usually when it's the most difficult. So just being that good friend that can help. And then ask if you can help honor their loved one in a special way. The grieving family might not have even thought about establishing maybe a scholarship, you know, in their loved one's name. So you can offer suggestions, you know, being that friend, and help that family make it happen. And so again, those are a few things that you can do as the person who's going through the process, and then also as well as being the friend who's helping the person go through the process, because that's what it is. It is a process. It is a journey that many of us will have to travel, or who is traveling right now. And it's not an easy journey. And then, I mean, many of us know, you know, that it's inevitable that it's going to happen, but it's just not easy. It's not. And so we have to be, you know, more sensitive when it comes to this, and more understanding, and more loving, and more giving of our time, as well as our presence, just to be there, just to listen, to have that shoulder. And so when it comes to the empty chair, I need you to understand the significance of it and what it means now that that chair no longer represents, not necessarily no longer represents, but it no longer holds that person's body physically, but it can hold that person's spiritually. And what I mean by that is that you can take that chair and make it into something special. And I know you listen to me and you're like, what am I going to do with a chair? It's the symbol, we symbolize what that person means to you, what that person means to your family. It's about dealing with grief. It's about dealing with the loss. It's about, you know, coming up with something creative to represent that person, that loved one. And that's all I'm speaking of on tonight, is the empty chair. And yes, like I stated earlier, for those of you who may have just came in, there is a such thing as the empty chair technique. And that technique is basically deals with you speaking to an empty chair, and you sharing your feelings whether that person is alive or whether the person is deceased, because it's about you healing. It's about you letting go of things that are hurting you, that you have suppressed and that you need to let go of. So there is an empty chair technique, but I want to deal with the physical chair. What are you doing to heal during this time? Or what are you doing to represent that person that you have lost? Because that chair is now empty. You don't forget about that person, but you do something to represent that person. You do something that will cause that person legacy to live on, to help you heal, especially when it comes to dealing with someone that you truly love and care about. It's never easy, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, a cousin, a best friend. There's ways to deal with it. And we have to deal with it in a healthy manner. And so that's all I wanted to discuss on tonight. I didn't plan on being here long. I just wanted to discuss briefly the empty chair. And what does that empty chair mean to you? What does it represent in your life, the empty chair? For me, it represents my father. For me, it represents my grandparents. For me, it represents my best friend that I lost. It represents many people. But this year, it's about my dad and how I overcame. I believe I made a step this year because I got a tree. And I explained to, for those of you who were here earlier, my father been deceased for 30 years. I can count on one hand how many times I had a tree while living at my mom's house. I left my mom's house when I was 34. I've been in my house for 10 years. Empty chair. So we have to be able to deal with it. We have to be able to face it. We have to be able to take it head on. And it is a process, a daily process. But I encourage you and I challenge you to deal with it. And I am here for anyone who wants to talk. You can always inbox me. For those of you who have my number, you know how to get in touch with me. But if you don't, you can always inbox me. And I'm here just to be a soundboard, because we all need somebody, and it's not always easy to talk to family members. It's not always easy to talk to our friends. I myself, although I have my degree in marriage and family therapy, I talk to a therapist. Therapist needs therapists. We all need somebody. And for me, it's easier. It's just Tamika. It's easier for me to talk to a therapist about anything and everything because I don't have to worry about that judgment. Because we all have those friends or family members. We could tell, we could tell A to this person, we could tell B to that person, we could tell C to that person, but we can't tell them A through Z. Y'all understand what I'm saying? But with the therapist, you can tell them A through Z, 1 through 10, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to worry about that judgment or, them feeling some type of way. It is what it is. And so I advise anyone, who have not seek the therapist, to at least think about it. And if you need help with that, I can definitely help you with suggestions. If you're in the South Florida area of good therapists that you can seek. And again, if you want to talk grief, you can always reach out to me. That's something I do specialize in. I am certified in grief. So there's no judgment. I'm just a soundboard. Anytime you want to talk, you can reach out to me. And that's from the bottom of my heart. That's real talk because we all need somebody. And this year definitely has been a trying year for many of us. And it's been lost all around, whether it's been a job, whether it's been a family member or friend. Even if you yourself haven't been, affected, someone who has been affected, and it may have been, challenging for you, to be that person, to your friend or family member who may have been or who is going through. So that's all I have for tonight. If you have any questions, I thank you for those who have tuned in again. I'm able to see now of who has tuned in. I am one person, 4 different platforms. So again, thank you. Thank you, Patrina. Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you, Pastor Greg, Lori, Veronica. Thank you, Coach Kim, Rochelle, Sandy, Latoya. Thank you, everyone who have tuned in on this evening. Please share this video. And then for those of you who may not have caught my videos in October, go to my YouTube channel or to my Evolve to Elevate page, and you can check out those videos that's dealing with grief as well. Some very good stuff there. And again, if you need someone to talk to or just need someone to listen, I am here. You can always reach out to me. I love y'all. I wish y'all happy holidays. As you please stay safe. Make sure you wear your mask, wash your hands, keep some sanitizer on you at all times. Okay. And don't be afraid of the empty chair. Don't be afraid. I need you to come up with something. I challenge you to come up with something to represent that person that's not here for Christmas. Be creative. Come up with a tradition. Something that represents that person. Okay? Face that empty chair. Love y'all. Mean it. Later. Mwah, 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 mwah. Happy holidays. And I wish you all a prosperous and happy new year. That 2021 be better than 2020 in the name of Jesus. Glory to God. All right. Be blessed, y'all. Later.